American state Florida Governor Ron DeSantis has been recruiting a secret Twitter army of far-right influencers. As Ron DeSantis gears up for a possible run for the presidency in 2024. According to 5 Republicans familiar with the discussions, the governor's top lieutenants have quietly recruited a network of conservative social media influencers as part of a broader attempt to circumvent the mainstream press and appeal directly to GOP primary voters nationwide. And who are, according to the 3 Republicans who received the initial pitch, among the ranks in DeSantis' digital army. Jack Murphy, a podcast host and self-described alpha male giga-chat, involved in a quasi-professional cuckolding pornographic video scandal. John Cardillo, a former Newsmax TV host and registered arms dealer who allegedly stiffed the Ukrainian government for $200,000 worth of body armor plates. Christian Walker, Herschel Walker's far-right influencer son who helped tank his father's Senate campaign, was also involved pornographic scandal, which had nude pictures leaked not so long ago. David Rayboy, a Hungary personality. Alexandra Lane's a right-wing internet blogger who complains a lot and looks angry in her rant videos. Daring Daniel, an Instagram blogger who was in full support of Ron DeSantis. Brendan Leslie, the CEO of the Florida Voice News. Zach Howard, independent news reporter who works for the Florida Standard. Josh Miller, independent journalist who works for the Florida Standard. Will Witt, a Colorado-born native college dropout, former Turning Point USA chapter leader, and a Prager University spokesperson personality best known as the Man on the Street, who allegedly was involved in a prostitution dark past. When Will Witt first began working with the nonprofit organization PragerU at the age of 20. Will Witt was allegedly filming fetish porn videos under the nickname Cantos. With the help of Will Witt's team, he got rid of everything from any porn site under his nickname or real name. Despite that, Will Witt had some 2 leaked nude pictures you could have found like a month ago, but they were banned recently off the internet that it showed his small penis. How Will Witt started to get recognized by dressing up in stereotypical clothes of various ethnic groups and nationalities, mocking Native Americans, Chinese, and his most notable viral video dressed as a Mexican. Will Witt's career as a spokesperson ended when he drastically announced from the morning to the night his departure from the Golden State of California, moving to the state of Florida to start a local digital news organization named the Florida Standard, who is also speculated that the nonprofit organization is getting paid by Ron DeSantis globalist donors who hate Donald Trump. One person with knowledge of the Florida Standard's backing told Semafor it was the brainchild of pro-DeSantis donors in Florida, who wanted to start a right-of-center publication to push back against what they saw as unfair legacy media coverage of the governor. Will Witt told Semafor that the company is for profit despite the fact that he mentioned it was going to be a non-profit organization before leaving Los Angeles to Tampa. Will Witt also mentioned that the Florida Standard relies on advertising and sponsorships, many of which he brings in himself through his notoriety on the right. Will Witt himself have declined to say who owns the website. The Florida Standard's pro-DeSantis propaganda news site, the well-established rival, Florida's Voice, is partially backed by Alfie Oakes, the MAGA grocery store king of Southwest Florida, who has appeared on the publication's podcasts and advertises on the site. The Florida's Voice is also a pro-propaganda magazine in favor of Ron DeSantis. In addition, Will Witt personality has expressed his hatred against Donald Trump, who he owes his fame. Will Witt have also expressed his hatred against Trump family, friends, co-workers, and supporters who some of them were his friends, and he have been personally gaslighting on them these last few months. Will Witt have disappointed many of his friends and fans, including myself, who I'm no longer supporting. Why would I be following a guy who is spreading hate instead of positivity, preaching the word of the Lord and motivating the people to have faith in God? Will Witt not only decide to turn his back on Trump, the guy who put him in the position where he is, but also his followers and friends, who he forgot that some are Trump supporters. Last month in the University of South Florida, when some major Donald Trump news breaks, the former president has gone and gotten himself indicted. I changed my speech, 26-year-old Will Witt tells me, "I didn't think it was going to happen." Will Witt is dressed in a tan blazer and boat shoes. Around him, a few dozen college Republicans, some of them wearing "Save America" and "Make America Florida DeSantis 2024" hats, scarf down. Most probably, already knowing the knowledge that Ron was going to run for the presidency. The Florida Standard, the pro-propaganda DeSantis news outlet that instantly gained unprecedented access to DeSantis files when it launched last summer. Many of the Florida Standard's headlines read like press releases that come straight from the governor's communications office. He liked Barack Obama and considered himself a radical liberal atheist. Before COVID hit, Will Witt was also pretending to be a religious person. Until October of last year, the Florida Standard was registered as an LLC called Sage Media and Communications. A spokesperson for DeSantis declined comment. Though Will Witt won't say who funded his site, he claims its business model is centered on online advertising. Some of the spots on the site recently were paid for by groups such as the Coalition for Affordable Prescription Drugs, Floridians for Affordable Works, and PBM Accountability Project of Florida, which seeks to restrict pharmacy benefit managers. The Florida Standard and its tight relationship with DeSantis' operation have caught the attention of Trump world. Brian Lanza, a Trump campaign alum who is close to the former president's team, knows about and dismisses the site. Manyars, the Floridian publisher who considers DeSantis a friend, says the Florida Standard is likely designed to help DeSantis in the March presidential primary in his home state. Will Witt personally hates Trump attacks on Ron DeSantis. Despite that, the main reason why Trump started to do it is to expose Ron that he was running a shady political presidential campaign, and many people flipped because that was going to prevent them of getting more money laundering of DeSantis donors. In an article posted by Politico last month, Will Witt says that if Ron DeSantis launches his campaign for president as early as next month as expected, Witt says the Florida Standard will cover it. And hopefully we can get some more scoops and exclusives, he says. In fact, there is a chance the company will expand to early voting states in 2024. Will Witt says he's had discussions with the people who helped get the Florida Standard off the ground about launching a similar operation in places such as Iowa and New Hampshire, practically confessing that not only he isn't the founder of the Florida Standard but also knew about Ron DeSantis' shady presidential campaign. Despite he went on a hypocritical rampage against Trump last November when Trump first exposed Ron DeSantis' shady presidential campaign. Will Witt not only called Donald Trump an absolute child but also an insecure little girl, repeating the same script what other far-right biased media outlets say against Trump. Not only Ron DeSantis broke his promise to Trump that he wasn't going to run for the presidency in 2024, but he also lied to the Floridians residents who voted for him for the re-election that he was going to stay in Florida as the governor. This sounds pure dishonesty or a political strategy, what the corrupt Reno would do. But Will Witt doesn't care. He is a disloyal person who lied to his followers and attacked his followers, who some are Trump supporters themselves, when he uploaded a rant video against Trump back in November for exposing his new boss Ron DeSantis. David Rubin, an American homosexual commenter who became friends of Will Witt when he first started working with Proguru and have appeared on some Proguru videos himself. Now my opinion about Proguru: I no longer trust the organization because they had a fundraiser in Palm Beach, Florida during the same time Ron had one. Most probably it was the same one because Will Witt was there despite he didn't spoke anything. Note: I have nothing against the founder of Proguru despite the fact that I do find it pretty odd about his stance of porn. I also have nothing against the staff of Proguru or even Will Witt. Honestly, Will Witt went off track after leaving Proguru for sure. Will Witt is being used by the Ron DeSantis team to publish propaganda in favor of him. I hope he realizes that someday. And some of the Ron DeSantis team members seem to look comprised, and they are. Like with Christina, who used to work for George Soros, and Ron DeSantis himself, who is definitely a communist dictator who's seeking for more political power. That's why he is running for the presidency. Meanwhile, the residents of Florida are going to stay without a governor. My last question: whatever happened to Will Witt engagement with Ava? They look like the cutest couple ever, but it seems they broke up back in December. Honestly, Will Witt did the biggest of letting her go away. I would have rather gone with her fighting for her country's freedom, instead of staying to work with a corrupt politician like Ron DeSantis. Lastly, have you guys realized that the website of the Florida Standard layout designs are in fact similar to The Atlantic and Politico? Pedro Gonzalez, a close friend of Will Witt, is a local photographer, co-founder of AGON magazine, and editor of Chronicles magazine. Pedro is another ungrateful coward who owes his fame to Trump and ruled Ava platform because of him. Pedro mostly spends his time on Twitter ranting, posting propaganda against Trump, family, friends, followers, and his loyalists team. Ben Shapiro, another of Will Witt's close friends and a cousin of the Matilda superstar Mara Wilson, who they don't talk for their political views differences. Ben, the founder of Daily Wire, also has a sister, Abigail Shapiro, who was involved in pornographic prostitution dark past. Candace Owens and Matt Walsh, who also work for the Daily Wire, have expressed their support to Ron DeSantis and hatred against Donald Trump. In addition, Qatar-hating bodybuilder with long-standing ties to John Bolton. Also Caleb Hull, an ex-Donald Trump digital strategist who has said some very racist things. And some Fox News personalities who have expressed their hatred against Trump and favoritism of Ron DeSantis. This is the Ron DeSantis team, and they're fighting a battle for a presidential shady campaign that who knows when it started. With plenty of Ron DeSantis FaceTime, dinners, and photo ops. The effort has picked up steam ever since Christina Pushaw, Ron DeSantis' perennially online rapid response director, moved from the governor's office to his campaign in August of last year. Pushaw, who has deep connections in right-wing media, has been reaching out either in person or through intermediaries to recruit conservative influencers, promising to boost their follower count and engagement with the help of an alleged bot farm, according to 3 Republican influencers who received the pitch. "I didn't realize I was being used," said one of the conservative influencers who agreed to be interviewed on the condition of anonymity. "A friend of mine in Miami told me Christina was recruiting people to, I guess, promote Ron DeSantis on social media. They started doing a sprawling influencer campaign," the Republican continued. "It's not a lot of the big influencers. I don't know if you'd call them mid-tier influencers or micro-influencers. I think it's a ragtag band of misfits, quite frankly. It's like a lot of these washed-up MAGA people who either sell their soul to the devil, or are a little, out there." Another GOP communications strategist who was approached for the influencer campaign said they heard promises of being paid to tweet about DeSantis or produce other forms of content, though the exact method of payment wasn't clear. Both sources said the idea was sold to them as being paid to boost DeSantis on social media with the help of the bot farm to boost the reach of their content. The Republicans who were approached and ultimately turned down the pitch said they believe DeSantis' campaign pays the influencers off the books or through a third-party vendor, though no one said they knew exactly how that would work or what the offer would be. Perks could also just be as simple as increased Twitter engagement or subtle perks like gift bags during a trip to the governor's mansion in Tallahassee. Another hallmark of the influencers in DeSantis' good graces is when they break a nugget of news before any other official outlets, or when a big players all seize on the same attack. Enthusiasm for Governor DeSantis is generated through his relentless work to keep Floridians free, not paying for retweets. "We do not pay influencers to tweet, nor do we pay for bot farms. People do that," Ron DeSantis spokeswoman Lindsay Kernot told the Daily Beast. "Touch some grass," Jake Kernot added, along with 20 bullet points on political and policy victories from the DeSantis administration, ranging from his overwhelming re-election to lowering the cost of prescription drugs. There has, notably, yet to be any federal guidance on whether online influencers are subject to the same regulations and disclosure requirements as other political advertisers. But either way, Ron DeSantis' team of influencers is full of flaws. Cardillo has his international arms dealer brouhaha. Murphy has a bizarre scandal revolving around cuckolding, where he claimed he was the victim of a revenge porn scheme only to later admit, "People paid us to fuck on the couch," in a Facebook post explaining, "More bad news coming out about me." Hull was exposed by Right Wing Watch in the summer of 2020 for using an anonymous gaming-related Twitter account in 2014 to use racial slurs. In one instance, he asked a black esports player where he picks his cotton. Will Witt and Christian Walker appear to have been the biggest catch for the Ron DeSantis team. With an established brand and a vast audience on social platforms, Christian Walker was presented as a blue-chip asset for the squad, according to the GOP communications strategist who was approached. A representative for Walker declined to comment. It's believed that the main reason why Christian Walker started a rampage against Starbucks in California and liberals areas is to promote the state of Florida. Despite all of this, Christian Walker has never expressed some hatred against Donald Trump. In comparison of the ungrateful coward of Will Witt. Once again, like I said earlier on this video, Will Witt, in an interview with Politico, claimed that he is getting paid by advertising revenue, despite some whistleblowers saying the contrary. That Will Witt, the Florida Standard News organization, is getting paid by Ron DeSantis globalist billionaires donors who they also have a tremendous hate against former President Donald Trump, just like the Will Witt. Cardillo, Hull, and Ray Boy didn't respond to requests for comment. A submission form on Murphy's website requires those wishing to submit a question to put in writing that men are generally taller than women. He also didn't return a request for comment. For a figure hyped as the future of the GOP and a potential Donald Trump slayer in the 2024 primary, Ron DeSantis has not exactly impressed right-wing circles with the stable of influencers his team has assembled. They're not sending their best, okay? One of the aspiring influencers approached by the Ron DeSantis team told the Daily Beast. They all live in Miami. They hang out with Christina daily. She feeds them all the narratives and the talking points, and that's basically her role, trying to control the narrative on social media. Although Ron DeSantis has been wildly successful in Florida, there is little indication of how he might fare under the bright lights of a nationwide presidential campaign. To the extent that his influencer plays a clue, some Republicans are more bearish on his prospects. If this is his strategy, the Republican strategist said, and these are his close friends, he is going to get toasted if he runs for president. He will be Jeb 2.0. While the governor's courting of influencers gained the most attention around a dinner party and rooftop cocktail soiree DeSantis hosted for them in Tallahassee on January 6, 2022, sources familiar with the governor's strategy were able to shed new light on the specifics of the unorthodox play. Above all, the prospect of increased engagement with followers and significantly juiced follower counts were Team Ron DeSantis' main selling points. That pitch did not prove persuasive to everyone, however. Congratulations, you got 100 retweets from the Ron DeSantis bot farm, said the second Republican who was approached. It doesn't move the needle in real life. Accounts such as @ZooOing19 and @MaxNordau have raised eyebrows in MAGA corners of Twitter as the Donald Trump versus Ron DeSantis proxy war wages on, according to sources familiar with the influencer outreach, particularly for their nearly 24/7 pace of tweeting and their tendency to relentlessly parrot the same pro-DeSantis phrases, word for word, in replies to seemingly unrelated issues. In a direct message to the Daily Beast, @MaxNordau would not disclose their identity, but said they were not a state employee, a member of a political campaign, or an employee of any political organization. Nobody pays me to do anything in politics in any capacity. The Ron DeSantis campaign would not say who paid for the influencer reception on the night of January 6, 2022, but most probably it was for Will Witt. Florida campaign finance records only show an expense under that date, over $42,000, to an unrelated vendor for digital fundraising services going back to the re-election campaign. While the Ron DeSantis digital strategy is ostensibly novel at this stage of the presidential election, the rise of Donald Trump paved the way for the Florida governor's acolytes to blur the lines between real and fake, said Carnegie Mellon University professor Ariel Lightman. We've seen this time and time again with nation-state actors utilizing bot farms as a mechanism to sort of sway public opinion, Lightman, a professor of digital media and marketing, told the Daily Beast. When presented with some of the repeated tweet phrasing from the Ron DeSantis-aligned influencers and the alleged bot accounts in question, Lightman said the techniques deployed are not at all uncommon in digital marketing in the 2020s, straddling the line between astroturfing and a coordinated strike. So who's standing Ron DeSantis? A group of like-minded individuals bolstered by a growing online fan base of exclusively real people only using one account each, or some blend of astroturfing and the coordinated strike. It's been harder to sniff those things out because they've actually put irregularity into it, Lightman said of the cutting-edge AI content generators in the marketing space, which can disguise themselves to mimic human user activity. So if it's kind of like an arms race, he said, if you know what the other side is doing or what the other side is looking for, then you program things in it that will avoid detection. Without getting into the legal weeds of protected speech, Lightman said the bigger problem highlighted by the Ron DeSantis strategy is a confluence of factors that will take the 2024 election into truly uncharted waters. This whole space is at tinderbacks, he said, that will be blowing up in 2023. The list of people who have turned their backs on Donald Trump: Ben Shapiro, Candace Owens, Tim Pool, Mike Cernovich, Will Cain, Jesse Kelly, Guy Benson, Will Chamberlain, Winsome Sears, Steve Crowder, Officer Tatum McCouch, Steve Gruber, Will Witt, Paul Joseph Watson, Matt Walsh, Vince Dow, Bryson Gray, Tommy Lauren, David Lamas, Bobby Sauce, Seth Dillon, the founder of Babylon Bee. That was all, folks. Thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe for more information.